Should be live soon. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Church in Context. Whether you're here for Matt or for me, or you're just somebody that found this YouTube channel randomly, we are glad to have you here. Normally we start off just kind of hanging out, talking for about 10 minutes. If you want to skip to the part where we get into a more deep conversation, you can see this overlay will be the sign that we are getting started with our actual conversation. So got Matt on today. It's Matt. I don't know if anyone's here yet, but in case anyone watches later on, tell us about yourself. Who are you?
Hello. My name is Matt Chestnut. I am a staff associate for Young Life down here in Bandon, Oregon, and Jonah and I are long life friends from birth. I like to say our parents were in the Air Force together, and we throw down a lot together from YouTube days. It's like something about Smurfs and Nerf guns. It was
man.
Cool. Go check it out. Another shameless plug. But then, there's just a lot of fun memories with this dude, and he's a good man.
Yeah, man, dude. I don't know if I think I told you this, but people at my college found like the YouTube channel that you made me make back in the day, or you encouraged me to make. Made sounds more angry. I saw a couple people watching. If you want to comment, we'll answer your questions if you have any. Yeah. Anyways, so the YouTube channel it didn't blow up, but people definitely found it, and I blame you for that. No, I'm kidding, man. It was a good time.
Oh, I see a question coming up. They want to ask if I'm an influencer of something. I'm an influencer for chamoy sauce.
Mm-hmm.
Amor means love in Spanish, and it brings me a lot of love. But psych, I lied. I just love chamoy, and they would let me be an influencer. So.
We need more chamoy-based influencers out there in the world. What is chamoy? Step up your game, chamoy.
We need chamoy.
Chamoy. I like it. Chamoy. Sweet, yeah. So Matt, we're gonna be talking today a bit about kind of later on in like 10 minutes once we really get into it. We're gonna talk a bit about life in youth ministry because we're both super new to it, eh? So how long have you been with Young Life for? How many months has it been?
Officially on staff for about a month and a half. Started beginning of December, but I've been involved in the ministry since 2016, leading up in Spokane through my college. So I've been in it for about 5 years now, but new to being employee.
Cool. Yeah, new to vocational ministry. I think it's the word that people use, which always sounds like, I don't know. Something about it sounds like official. I don't know, too professional, vocational ministry. But it makes sense. Sometimes there's a soft transition to ministry. Like my church, I was a volunteer, then became an intern over the summer, then moved to a new job. So I don't know, I've kind of been with my church for 5 years, but I've really only been working in my own, in this capacity for listen here. So if you guys are just chilling, watching the stream, feel free to put question you might have in the comments. Let us know you're here too. If you're a buddy of Matt's or a buddy of mine, we'll see who has more friends that care about them.
Or maybe they just came across and they're like, we want to be friends with both these guys.
It's true. We can we're desperate for friends. There's a pandemic going on right now. I haven't talked to a new human being that I didn't know before in a year at this point. Please be my friend. This entire podcast was so I could meet people. Please, I'm begging you. Cool. We started in about 6 minutes, but Matt, you're you got some hot takes for the NFL playoffs right now. Some of which I don't agree with, man. I'm not gonna lie. Hey, what's up, Thomas? Good to hear from you, man.
Hey, Thomas, how's it going?
I don't know. I'm trying to think if you guys ever met. Thomas is it's a big throwback. Thomas is also in youth ministry, actually. Yeah, down in Cali.
Hey, there we go. at a youth pastor or?
I remember. Oh, also, just so you know, Matt, there's kind of a delay too. So we'll say something, and then there's like I think it's like 10-second or 15, somewhere between like a 10 and 20-second runoff between when someone, yeah. So if you guys ever ask a question and it's like a really quick question that we could answer in 2 seconds, if it takes us like 20, it's because yeah, we can't always. Sometimes we say it right as we see it, but it takes a while. Youth
Oh,
ministry, 6 years in
Boise.
Boise, sweet man, that's awesome,
Dude,
nice
there we
man,
go.
cool stuff.
Good
Are
old.
you near? Are you near Redlands at all? I have a good friend from Redlands. It's kind of my like. I guess that's not super southern SoCal, but yeah. Oh, there we go.
Oh, we got Sir Caleb Carpenter.
Sweet. Yeah. So normally for the first like 10 minutes, between 4 and 4:10, we just kind of talk with the chat, answer any questions. Say hi to people, and then
Oh,
we'll normally get started with the good stuff at 4:10.
so Jonah
Mhm.
mentioned earlier that I had some hot takes on the NFL and Disneyland. Disneyland's awesome.
Oh, sweet.
I think the Browns are going to proceed to the next round. And I think we're either going to see a Browns or Bills victory in the Super Bowl. You're here, probably not first, but
Mm-hmm. And there's NorCal. Oh, okay, I always thought it was SoCal. I must have been wrong. Uh, Sweet. Yeah, Disneyland's a cool place too. That's a good spot to be. Um, yeah. Anyways, I don't know, man. Like the Browns looked good against the Steelers, who were a good team, but I have a hard time imagining Patrick Mahomes losing a game.
come on.
Oh yeah,
Come on.
I believe. Yeah, I hope. Like it'd be sick if Cleveland won a Super Bowl though. That'd be unreal. So this is the first time they made the playoffs in 18 years, and the first time they won a playoff game in my lifetime. 95 or 94 was the last time they won one. So like,
We've always heard the joke Browns to the Super Bowl, and it's a different context. But,
mhm.
this year we can finally change that to a positive, pretty positive statement. If Baker can bring in the dub, so you gotta
It's true.
believe, man.
What is something in youth ministry? Ooh, man. Um, I guess that's a good question. So I've only been in like my role for a couple not even a year at this point, actually. I guess only since August, so like half a year. Um and before that I was kind of in like a mentored role where I was just leading junior high, as opposed to leading everything. I guess one thing is like the need to be self-motivated is a big one in terms of like, in other jobs you have a boss that's like, hey, do this and this and this, and you have like, this is your job description, this is what you're supposed to do. Or in youth ministry, it's like, hey, go love kids and lead them to Christ. How do you do that? You kind of decide. So I guess I wish that I had thought about that a little bit more. Yeah, that's definitely like a weird thing. I don't know. How about you, Matt?
I guess it's hard to say. Going into young life, I thought it was just going to be like a youth group, and I mean they're both great. It's just different methods. So I don't know. I guess there's not a whole lot I wish I knew. I think there's a reason we got theology courses and youth min courses because it helps us learn stuff that we didn't know. So I it's hard to say. I wish I'd learned about incarnational ministry even
Mm,
younger. I don't know. That's something I love to learn about. Incarnate.
sweet. Cool. We're gonna start here in just a bit. Yeah, normally at the end we'll like answer questions and stuff as well. We normally have like the YouTube side of it, but then we also actually we're uploaded to Spotify as well. Some other things. So normally for kind of like I guess the part that gets recorded, we're normally just focused on like a topic or something, but we definitely like to answer questions at the end. So we're gonna get started here in just a second. That's a good question though, Thomas. I appreciate it, man. Dude, I gotta get you on here sometime if you're ever interested. Because I mean, yeah, you have some cool perspectives as well.
And remember, go to your local store and buy some
Some
chamoy,
chamoy. Oh man.
and then you can add me on social medias and be like, "Hey Matt, I had chamoy that changed my life. Give me some chamoy."
Oh man. Yeah, Matt's trying to get us a sponsor deal. I like it. What if we got a chamoy sponsor deal and you were only like on here, for just like a random episode, but yeah,
They're
John and I got a chamoy sponsorship from it. That'd be beautiful.
yeah, man. You just gotta call up. They're manufactured in Hermosillo, Sonora, Mexico. I don't know if that's where the headquarters are, but I'll give them a call and see what we can do.
Sweet. Yeah, I appreciate that, Thomas. So, yeah, Matt. Yeah, so you ready to get started?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Cool. So I'm gonna put up kind of a banner. The main reason I do that is so people who maybe came, maybe are watching YouTube after the fact, but are only here for like, the kind of the meat of it. We'll know where to skip to, and also John normally breaks down kind of the recording, like posted elsewhere, and this will let him know like, oh, I don't need to, keep the earlier question stuff. So yeah. Welcome to Church in Context. It's Jonah here today. John, unfortunately, is a little bit busy, but in his place, I've got a good friend of mine, Matt. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. You got to replace one biblical name with another. So
It's true, Matthew to John. Yeah, just swapping out disciples there. Yeah, Matt, tell us just a little bit about yourself.
yeah, so my name's Matt, and I'm from the Portland area. I am a staff associate down here in Bandon, Oregon, for Young Life, where I get to both manage and participate in the high school and middle school ministries around here. And yeah, I'm always repping the gear.
Oh yeah, I got the Young Life hat on.
Come
Love
on.
it, man. Repping some awesome gear. Squeeze in Young Life hat hair to go with it. Just kidding. Yeah, man. No, glad to have you. So, Matt, you and I go way back. In fact, if you're watching this on YouTube, my YouTube debut basically came because of you. You're the one that got me into some early YouTube videos. Like, how long do you think we've known each other? If you had to like guess.
Since birth, bro. I mean, not since
Yeah.
birth, but like since we're little tots. Because yeah, I mean, we were born around somewhat the same time.
Year. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think I don't even know when your parents moved back to Oregon area, but I'm assuming you guys were back in Portland by then. But
yeah, I was born in like Washington, but I wouldn't be surprised if like we met each other within a week of like you being born, which is pretty crazy. We go like way back, at least probably like a month. So yeah, we go way back, man. Bros since basically from the womb, which is really cool, man. And what's cool is we've also kind of followed a similar life trajectory too. Kind of started at the same place, and at this point in our lives, we're in a pretty similar place as well. We're both pretty new to ministry. I think both of us started in at least in our roles in 2020. So we have kind of a lot of new experiences that we've kind of been able to talk about together. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. What are things that we're learning as we're brand spanking new to youth ministry? So, yeah, but to start out, I want to talk a bit about some stereotypes people have for, people in youth ministry. Whether you're a youth director, youth pastor, whether you're working at a parachurch organization like Young Life or CIY, there's a lot of different stereotypes that people have that they associate with people who work in youth ministry. So Matt and I are going to go through some and give our take on whether or not they seem true. First, all youth pastors, all youth workers are lovers of caffeine. What do you think, Matt?
I mean, there's some people who are like, nah, but I feel like a lot of people are like, give me the Monster, give me the Coca-Cola. I prefer the coffee life. I'm probably do have too much coffee throughout the day, but the fizzy waters are the way to go too. But yeah, I think it's pretty funny. It's like I mean, in some ways, you got to have a mixture of the caffeine and the Holy Spirit to keep you going. So
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's true. I would say like I'm not a big caffeine person, but I will say the majority of like adults I know that drink Mountain Dew, I know through youth ministry. And I don't know if that's a coincidence. I don't know if that's maybe it's like confirmation bias, right? Like every time I meet someone that I see with Mountain Dew that isn't in youth ministry, it doesn't like register as much. But yeah, I think that one's pretty true.
we need to do a national or a worldwide poll on that. So
Totally. Yeah, exactly. A national survey. I like it. Yeah, because I feel like I don't. It's not everyone in youth ministry. I know some people who are kind of health nuts in youth ministry. Some friends of mine, um, but I'd say most people I know that are older and drink a lot of soda are in some way connected to youth ministry. So I think that one checks out. Sounds pretty true. Second, a lot of youth ministry people are gamers. Do you think that one's true? I feel like not everyone that's in youth ministry is into gaming, but I see a lot of overlap.
I mean, it depends, man. I mean, there's some people who are oh, like Satan, but
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle. You know, I play some, but I'm not. It's not my go-to either. So, um, you know, in the world we're in, might need to pick up some gaming, boys and girls. You know,
Mm-hmm.
youth pastors, young life people. But I don't know. I mean, it's a good tool. I don't know. What do you think? Are you hashtag gamer?
It kind of depends on what I have to do during quarantine. Sure. Yeah, I don't know. So I think that it's kind of true. I remember one of the first retreats I was on staff for. Um, the it was a group of churches that got together to run this retreat, and the pastor that led all these other churches for this retreat had a Twitch channel where he would stream himself gaming. And I remember that was the first time I'm like, wow, like I feel like that's the thing. But it also makes sense to me. Like I would not have played Among Us if I wasn't in youth group. I play Among Us because I play it with our youth. Minecraft is another one. I never played Minecraft. I kind of miss it. I feel like I was at the age where I was just maybe a little bit like older than the target age range for Minecraft was when it first came out. But when I was working with junior hires, I'm like, I feel like I should at least be able to talk about this. So I played it a little bit for them. So I think it makes sense that youth workers would go into gaming a little bit. So part of it is to connect with kids. You kind of need to know the culture a bit. I guess the next one is: are all youth workers disorganized? I, yeah, I'll say not all youth workers are disorganized. I've worked with some people who are really well organized. John, who's normally kind of the host or co-host of the show, he's really organized. But I do nothing to help that stereotype. I'm the reason that stereotypes like that exist. I'm bringing people like John down. They're not all disorganized. I happen to be. That's maybe a coincidence. I don't know. What do you think, Matt?
You know, I think it is hard. I'm guilty of being disorganized, although I will say youth ministry has helped me to become more organized. Because when you have to do stuff like, you know, get forms to the right places, you name it, it's like if you don't do it, you know, you could either get in trouble or just get behind. And so, yeah, I mean, I think, it's hard. I think being a youth pastor or in a parachurch, doing youth ministry, it's like a lot of the focus is hanging out with kids. And so I think sometimes it can be hard to be like, oh, I need to organize.
Yeah, totally. Sweet. And I guess we'll move on here a bit to the kind of meat of our conversation. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of stereotypes out there. Some other ones we could have done. Are they all young? I'd say no. I met some older people who are great youth workers. Do they all look like hipsters? I don't think we look like hipsters. I mean, you have like a Young Life hat on right now, so maybe you have a bit of the PNW vibe.
Yeah, Young Life kind of were stereotypical for having a lot of merch And so sometimes it can come out in the form of hashtag hipster.
It's true. We got to rep the merch. Yeah, we have some youth shirts I have. So I feel like I look like I'm in youth ministry sometimes because I wear youth ministry shirts a lot. But I don't know if I give off hipster vibes. Yeah. Anyways, kind of wanted to start off. So we're just interviewing you, asking you some questions about yourself a bit. So I guess first, why did you get into ministry? What led you there?
Yeah, a little bit of my story. I led during my time at Whitworth in college as a volunteer leader for like 4 years, and
Hmm.
um, I always felt like it was a big part of my life. Just learned to love people and just helping me to take deeper steps in my faith. But ultimately, at the end of college, I thought, I really want to go into the business world because I was a business major, and thought that I wanted to, work up the corporate ladder and be one of those guys who gives to youth ministry. But I realized that my gifts weren't best used there, and that my passion was for hanging out with high school and middle school kids. And I love Young Life because it's a very incarnational ministry. Getting to meet kids where they're at and go hang out at the schools. So a big thing for me was just doing something where I get to be present with people, and like vocational ministry, or living in my vocation is something that I've feel like I haven't really done as well until starting this job. So
Totally living out a calling. It was kind of a calling you had. But you also brought up that you didn't just wake up one morning and decide to get into ministry. There was things that you did, when you were younger, serving at college, that kind of led you there. Yeah, it's cool.
yeah, and I mean, here's something interesting to think about: is I was a youth group kid growing up,
Hmm.
and it wasn't until college where I knew what Young Life was, but um, freshman year in college, I got an invitation to join a class, and after a semester of the class, they invited students to step into ministry. So
Hmm.
uh, like you said, there's been a lot of things building up that have um, been pushing me, not pushing me, but moving me towards youth ministry. And I mean, I'm here.
That's awesome. Yeah. So right now there might be a lot of students who are watching, or in the future there might be some students who see this or listen to this, and it's cool to know that if you're loving youth ministry now, um, a lot of us that are in youth ministry were impacted by youth ministry, and that's really what led us here, which is super cool. I have a pretty similar story there. So you talked a bit about your time at college. So I guess for you, how did you find the transition from college to the youth ministry world? Was it easy? Was there things that you wish your college had talked about? Is there things that you found really, really helpful that you were able to hear during your time at college?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because I think so. If I'd gone from college directly into ministry, it would be a different experience. And then,
Hmm.
um, I think going from college to a job where I didn't feel as I didn't feel it was life giving. It was harder to find joy in the work. And I think transitioning to this job, just showing up to work. I work from home or meeting
Hmm.
people, but I think just moving from a job that was like not relational really that much at all to like almost the opposite spectrum of like meeting with people all the time, both kids and adults. That's another part of the ministry, but I think I mean it's hard transition in general. Just coming from college, not everyone has the same college experience, but for people who have similar experiences to you and I going to Christian universities,
Hmm.
it's they're very tightly knit communities, and leaving your community to join a new community in a uproot where you're at and plant your roots somewhere else. It's hard in some ways, and I think it's a mixture of like how the community responds to you joining, but also like what effort you're going to make. And I mean, I I have nothing but positive things to say about my community here in Bandon.
Hmm.
Helped my transition a lot. So
Sweet. That's awesome, man. Yeah, I agree. And I think a lot of like, at least for me, a lot of the value from college wasn't just what I learned in classes. Don't get me wrong, kids ask really hard questions.
yeah,
Um, sometimes you think, oh, I'm just going to be in youth ministry. I don't need to know the answer to this very obscure passage translation. But kids are a lot smarter than I think we give them credit for sometimes. I'm blown away by the questions I get. So having, a good foundation for how to answer those tough questions, how to read scripture well, that's important. But a lot of the importance of college, kind of like you were saying, is finding opportunities to serve there, and really working on kind of a lot of the relational skills in college too. I think is really important. Yeah, you brought up how you are in Young Life now because you were in Young Life in college. So taking those opportunities to serve is pretty big.
well, and I think another important key factor is having people that are pouring into you. Whether
Mm-hmm.
that's friendships, like you and I, like being able to have honest, uh, fun, real combos with each other. But also just like having mentors, having, in college, having professors that will pour into you. That really has made an impact on me. So, yeah, I mean, even just, the way my family, my parents, encouraged me into this, well, not just in this role, but throughout college, being like, "Oh yeah, we see you're called here." And I don't know if I've told you this before, but I always used to get mad at my mom for saying, "Oh, you'd be a great youth pastor." She'd say at high school. I'm like, "Nah, mom. Like I'm either going to be an athletic trainer or a businessman." And
Mm.
you know, uh, irony is something that I deal with a lot, and so I chuckle now.
Yeah, totally, man. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think you got some good points there. Just about the need to find someone to mentor you too. Earlier today, I was just looking because I'm new to youth ministry. I spend a little bit of time reading on what are things you should be doing when you're new to ministry, and like one of the most consistent points brought up is find a mentor. Find somebody who's there to disciple you. I'm blessed to have people in my church who have poured into me. People outside as well who have really poured into me. So I agree, man. That's huge advice. Um, yeah.
One, especially I think whether it's Young Life or nonprofit or church, I think having a strong structure of people, whether it's like supervisors or mentors, people that can support you and help you become successful is huge. And yeah, I mean, I kid you not, there's like I could more people than I can list on my fingers, of people, both in and out of the organization that are pouring into me in different angles. So I think, I mean, honestly, that's a huge thing within doing ministry is you get to have a really cool community of people.
Mm.
You know, older, mature people who can just walk life with you.
Totally. And I would find it so fitting that when Jesus calls the first disciples, whether it's Peter, Andrew, or James and John, he calls them together. I think that ministry is meant to be something done together. We're called to unity. There's never a time when discipleship was just done alone. So bringing the community in with you to minister is a really powerful thing. I love that analogy, man. That's awesome. So Matt, I'm not the best at math, but youth group is only like maybe an hour and a half, an hour to 2 hours a week. Yeah, youth pastors work like 35, 40 hours a week. 30 hours. Like, what are they doing for that entire time? Because I think a lot of people, you only maybe see a youth pastor like a couple of their hours a week. But what things go on behind the scenes? Because it might be different for us with you being in a parachurch organization, me being in a church context. But I'm curious, man. What do we do?
Yeah, I mean, for my role, there's a lot to it. It's planning out club.
Hmm.
quick description of club. We call it a party with a purpose.
I like it. That's
You
awesome.
know, a really cool opportunity for kids to come, hang out, play some fun games, sing some silly songs, and hear a quick little message. But so I'm planning those weekly clubs, but also the kind of campaigner, our version of small groups. You know, doing contact work, going to schools, hanging out. You know, planning content for the medias. You know, fundraising both personally and for the area, and just meeting with people. So I mean, there's a lot on top of that, just coursework, and you know, I'm sure with you, like you're doing a lot of planning and meeting with people as well. I mean, it, it's kind of funny, like the role of youth ministry. People think, oh, you must just hang out with kids all day, and it's like, well, no, they're in school. You know, I can't really take them out of school, but you know, when we're not
Mhm.
with kids, we're either, you know, planning or preparing or meeting with other people. So it's, I don't know, it's very, I mean, it's different with the church and parachurch ministries, but it's the same kind of gist of doing things. I feel like, I don't know. I mean, what would you add as far as more so like the youth pastor role?
Yeah, yeah. For my kind of youth director role, it's yeah, like you said, a lot of meetings, or a couple meetings. I don't have too many, but for every like hour that we spend actually doing youth ministry, there's probably been like, I don't know, 2 to 3 hours of like conversation or thought about it. Whether it's contacting people to be on our worship team and giving them all time to practice, or it's keeping my youth leaders in the loop with this like crazy event idea I have, or it's calling retreat sites to see where we can join, or going on Pinterest for looking up games. There's a lot that goes into like every hour of youth ministry. So every hour that you see, there was a like, I don't know, thought process that got there. Um, I mean, I procrastinate sometimes, but I'm not just showing up on Wednesday wondering what we're gonna do on Wednesday. Just
I
for every like, yeah,
I mean, I think of like whether it's a mission trip or young life camp or you name it. Those take a lot of work. You know, there's
yeah,
forms, there's planning, like, okay, we're gonna, like, lodging, food, you name it. So there's a lot of work to be done. And I think not that you know, we want to be appreciated, but I think now being, you know, outside on the outside, well, on the inside, but also having that outside experience as like a participant in both ministries, um, I have a much bigger appreciation for the work that goes into youth ministry, just because there is so much that goes into making you know, making things possible. I mean,
totally. Yeah, and like you said too, it's not just for like our organization, it's not just club, or it's not just Wednesday nights. Like we have retreats and stuff to plan as well as some, yeah, as well as other big events. Like we do a big event beyond youth group every month. I've got an event planned. So if I have extra time and I've gotten everything I need done for Wednesday, I'm working on like future events as well. Yeah, there's kind of like big term things you have to work on also. So a lot of my hours go to that, as well as handling a lot of random things that come up. I don't know about you, but sometimes I'll just kind of start my day at work. I'll go to the office with nothing on my agenda, and I will be full for the entire day because hard conversations come up, or there are concerns, or I need to clean something, or I have to talk to somebody else on staff about something that came up. Like there are things to do. I've never gone to the office and not had something to get done, even if I didn't have anything as I drove there. So I don't know. That's something that I've always found kind of interesting. Because I think when people think of youth ministry too, a quick, I don't know if I'd say warning if you're trying to go into youth ministry, but just know that you've only seen like the most fun parts of youth ministry, probably. If you're an administrator too, and you're like, man, I'm not built for youth ministry, you probably are more than you might be giving yourself credit for as well. We need people who are really organized, really administrative. Certainly isn't my gifting yet. I'm working on it. But yeah, I think that there's organizational skills help a lot more than you might think from the outside. because a lot more of what you do is administrative.
Well, and I think, maybe that's something going into the role. I don't think everyone knows the expectations of what you need for the role. For my job, I have clear expectations of different things I'm supposed to do, and so if there's ever something I'm kind of confused about, go back to the expectations, and it's like, well, okay, this doesn't fall under my responsibilities, but it needs to be done, and structure helps out with that. But I think I could see people not understanding that. So I think just having a understanding that, hey, you're not just hanging out with kids drinking sodas and um, preaching to them. Like even doing a little message like that takes time to pray and study and think about what you want to talk about that day. So it's like it's important to know going into youth ministry that it is a lot of work, but it's very fulfilling too.
Totally. And that actually perfectly leads into kind of my next question for you. We're new to ministry, so I think a lot of things are really fresh to us. It's kind of like if you have ever tried to teach someone to play a sport that you're really good at, when you teach them, you realize how much you've almost known, how many things you haven't really intentionally thought about in forever. So, if I teach someone to shoot a basketball, I'm not going to think about how their elbow should be or how their wrist should flick, because for me, maybe it's just a quick motion I've done before. But when you have to slow down and teach someone, or you're new to something, you really learn like every detail. So now that we're new to this, right, we're first graders trying to shoot a basket for the first time in the youth ministry world. What are challenges and blessings you see at this kind of early stage in your role in vocational ministry? What are like some of the major challenges or major blessings? They can be surprising ones or ones that you hadn't thought about before, or they can be ones that people talk about frequently. They're like, yeah, this is real. I don't know.
Yeah. So I feel like if you're familiar with the community that you're in some ways it's easier because you know people, but it's harder because you know people. I think in my context of Bandon, it's not intimidating by any means, but coming into a new community in a small town, it's a really awesome, tightly knit community. And I think for me, it's like I'm coming in as the new guy, and I'm trying to both learn, but also take steps in, progressing the ministry here and encouraging people, challenging people. I think something I've learned, both related to ministry and just life in general is, this can sound weird. The biggest blessing is being okay with failure and growing from that. I think, if you come in with the attitude of like, oh, I know how to do youth ministry and I'm gonna just knock it out of the park, man. Like, I'm just gonna all the kids are gonna be like changed when they hear just every word I say, and it's like, not every kid is gonna respond the same way to things you say or do, and it doesn't mean you're a bad, youth minister or young life leader, you name it. It's just difference in kids, but I think, humility is something that will be present throughout vocation, and I think humility points us both towards Jesus and also ways in which we can improve. So I think it's important to go in kind of with a slice of humble pie, kind of acknowledging that it's not going to be just like a easy smooth sailing. Like there's going to be some storms, and you will get through it. But it's just you can't go in with the conception that it's just going to be perfect, because welcome to a world where sin has entered. It's like we're not a perfect world. So Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing for me. But also within that, realizing that like you got to give yourself grace. I think that's helpful to be like, okay, I need to take this failure seriously and work on it, but also recognize like, hey, I'm not going to do things perfectly, and there's
Mm,
for improvement. And just knowing where your identity in Christ lies. That's the biggest thing. If you rely on that, it's like boom, like
yeah.
it's when you lose sight of that, it's easy to fall off and be like, oh, I can't do this. But when you're
Mm,
holding on to that, it's like whatever pitch comes your way, you're gonna hit, and you may not get a home run all the time. It might be you might get a few foul balls, but you gotta keep hitting.
it's true. And that's one thing that I think is important as well. A kind of a challenge maybe is when you have, a week of youth group that just doesn't go that well, not taking that as like your entire identity in Christ, because they are connected, right? If I have a good relationship with Christ, it's going to help my ministry. Um, but not getting weighed down when like you make a mistake in ministry, not being like, wow, I failed God. Like there's more pressure, I think. There's more pressure both outward and inward when you make a mistake in youth ministry. Maybe I didn't, let's say I didn't CC the right person in an email. Um, Not only do I feel bad because I messed up at my job, I feel bad because I messed up at a job that, has some sway over kids' eternities. Like it's, you can add a lot of pressure to yourself. At least I can at times. So that's definitely a challenge. And for me, a big challenge too is a lot of youth ministry is there's a lot of blanks to fill in your job, I guess. You're kind of put in a place, maybe you have some things set up. Maybe your church always does a retreat every year. And maybe you have youth group on a certain night of the week. Okay, that's a good starting point. But there's just a lot of things that you can do for your ministry, and knowing what the best things to do are is a good idea. So for example, like I said, we're doing an event every month. We're doing that because I thought that would be, kind of a good amount of time for kids to meet extra outside of youth group. With quarantine being a thing, I wanted them to have more human interaction if they could, especially for those kids who really only are seeing people during youth events. But no one told me to do that, so I kind of had to make that decision. I don't know. It seems like there's often a lot of decisions that you just kind of make in the dark and hope that they work out well. And a lot of your hours go towards setting up, finishing tasks you gave yourself to do, uh, in a sense, which is kind of weird. Yeah, that and there's a lot of emails. I'm a terrible emailer. If you're watching or hearing this from our church, I just want to apologize publicly for being awful at emailing. Oh my goodness, I'm a rambler on emails. Yeah, but like you were saying, there's also a lot of blessings as well. Uh, I think one for me, I'm still, again, really new to my role. I was a junior high director last year, but this year I've taken over our entire youth ministry. But what's really cool is like watching kids in your ministry become more like Jesus and being able to look and say, like, I had a very small part in that. It's only been a couple years, but there's already some kids I'm like, you've matured. Like this problem you used to have that I talked to you about is going away. Or like this strength I saw in you that I encouraged you in it's shining more. And I know that I didn't do that. I know that it was the Holy Spirit in you. Um, but at the same time, it's really cool to be able to look and say, like, man, my job had a purpose. I don't get tired of going to work. Uh, I don't get tired of working 12 hours on a Wednesday, um, because I know that like lives are changed on Wednesdays, and it's rad. And I haven't gotten to the point where I feel like my work is meaningless, and I don't know if I ever will. Um, Obviously, sometimes you can fall into pitfalls in any job, but it's really easy to stay motivated when you are doing something that's important and awesome. So it's probably one of the biggest blessings for me. Um, yeah, and Matt, when we were talking about this before, one thing that you said that you kind of wanted to talk about was the importance of loving your ministry, kind of loving youth ministry in general. So, curious, what are your thoughts on that? Why is it important to love youth ministry?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of point back to my experience in the corporate world, and clarification. I'm not against anyone in the corporate world. It's just there's a lot of great people within that, but it just wasn't for me. And I think when you're not loving what you're doing, it's like, is it really worth staying in it anymore? And I mean, one would say you're making money. Great. Long term, though, I don't want to look, back on my life on my deathbed and be like, oh man, I just like did something I didn't love, and I wasn't as joyful as I could have been. I want to look back at most of my life and be like, I found fulfillment in what I did and made an impact. And I think, yeah, I mean, you hit the bullseye, man. It's like if you don't like what you're doing, like it's like showing up to a test you didn't study or that you studied for, but you don't want to do well. It's like, well, it's just
Yeah.
not a great attitude. And I think when you love the job, you're able to do it more effectively, and you're more, it's easier to take criticism and grow from it, but you also find joy in every single day, even in those hard moments, being like, oh God, help me in this moment, help me to
Hmm.
turn the situation, but to rely on you for this. So I don't know. It's such a it's so important. I think if you don't love your job, um, you should ask yourself some questions like, is it something I can change? And if it is, great. Like, do it, and hopefully that helps you to, maybe not love your job, but either tolerate it or start to love it. But I think a lot of people don't live into their calling, and you don't have to. Your calling doesn't have to be your job necessarily.
Hmm.
Thank, thank, thankfully, your boy Jonah and I uh, have found our calling in our career, in our work. Um, your calling doesn't have to be in your work. You
Hmm.
you could be successful in your job, but find fulfillment in mentoring people after work, or there's all these other ministries you can get involved. You can get involved in your church, in your youth group, or in Young Life, and find fulfillment in that. I could we could both introduce you to several different volunteers who really have found fulfillment through both doing their job and serving. So I think that's important. But I think finding joy in your job is important, even if it's not your vocation. Like that's,
Hmm.
I don't know. I didn't find any joy in my previous job, and I mean, I realized like I couldn't do it anymore because it just wasn't producing joy. Could I
Hmm.
have changed my attitude? Oh yeah, for sure. I'll,
Hmm.
I'm guilty, but I think you have to ask yourself what you know is my joy. Um, rewind. You got
Yeah.
to ask yourself, is my joy going to be found in this? And if not, I encourage people to do that and serve a need in the world with
Hmm.
something you have joy in doing. And I mean, for me, that's hanging out with high school, middle school kids, and um, both being, sharing, and um, speaking about Jesus to them. I think it's
Totally.
yeah,
Yeah, I think, in some jobs, uh, maybe you hate your job, but if you're making enough money, it kind of you can kind of cope with it. In youth ministry, you're not going to be making enough money to cope with it. I think that yeah, there's a lot of reasons that you kind of have to love youth ministry to be in it. Part of it is that um, it is a job with a lot of responsibilities that are important. That doesn't pay very well, and sometimes you can make a big mistake or get into a lot of very hard conversations. Um, there's a lot of like relationships that are tied into your job as well. If I say or do something bad for my youth ministry, it might affect some of my friendships. There's a lot that's into it, and so why do people go
yeah,
into youth ministry at all? Because they love it. Like if you're not all in, I don't think it's going to go very well. Yeah, it's kind of a bit of a unique job in that situation. So yeah, it asks a lot of you, but it also gives so much. There's so many blessings in youth ministry. Getting to watch kids become more like Jesus is the coolest experience ever. And if you're somebody in high school now who's thinking about following that for a career path, go for it if that's what you're passionate about. If you love Jesus but don't feel like this calling is for you, that is okay. I remember hearing that from a custodian at my college where I did my undergrad. A custodian once came up to me and he was training to be a pastor. And I said, wow, that's awesome that you want to get into ministry. And he stopped me and he said, Jonah, what I realized is that in life, if you are a follower of Jesus, if you are living out God's plan for your life, if you have the Holy Spirit in you, you're doing ministry no matter where you go. Now I'm just going to get paid for it. That was his takeaway, which is awesome. And he lived that. He was the custodian at my college only in my first year, but he was kind of a mentor to me. He would pull me aside and say, hey, Jonah, I see this in your life. This needs to change. Or he would give me a word of encouragement. He was somebody who, despite, his job not being one that was meant for discipleship, because God had transformed his heart, he was for discipleship, which really stood out to me. So he's a really powerful witness. Yeah. So anyways, I think that's kind of all that we had to talk about. Do you have any closing thoughts, Matt?
No, I just had a chuckle at youth ministers earn it for the money. Yeah, man.
Exactly. Quote unquote, John Perot, normal host of this podcast and youth minister.
That's gold. But yeah, I wholeheartedly believe every word you just said. So I think, yeah.
Sweet.
I also think, sorry. I just had a brain fart, but we're coming back. I think another cool part is learning from the kids you get to work with. Because, we read in the Bible where Jesus says we must come to him with this childlike faith. And I mean, I was just talking with a member from the church I attend here in Bandon, and he's talking about just all the funny things kids say, but also the very pure, just loving things people say too, or the kids say too, and just I don't know. There's a lot in the way they think. It's not, it's influenced, but it's different. They're not as in not being as developed. It's kind of a almost like no filter.
Yeah,
it's really cool. Not that we shouldn't have a filter, because that can get you into trouble. But I think
they're willing to ask questions. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think people. I don't like to think of it as a filter that's stopping stuff from coming through. I like thinking of the filters, holding back some thoughts so that different thoughts can come from different, looking at scripture, looking at it from different angles instead of the one you would normally go to. So I don't know. I think there's so much to be learned about the childlike faith.
It's true. It kind of reminds me of so I have some younger siblings, and I remember when they were new drivers, my least favorite thing they would do when I was driving would be to point out my mistakes, because they had just read the driver's handbook for the first time. So for them, they were thinking 3 and 9 or 10 and 2 or whatever it was at the time. Whatever it is, I don't know. I've been driving for too long. Or they'd be like, oh, Jonah, you didn't check your mirror every 5 seconds. And even though they were newer to driving than I was, there was things they knew about driving that I just forgot about. And it happens like that in youth ministry too. So anyways, we're getting close to the end of our time here. So normally we end off talking about just something that we can't get over. And I think from that end, it's probably just kind of the division in our country. We're recording this on January 14th. For the second week in a row, we had something really big in our nation happen on a Wednesday. For me, it's weird because I work all day Wednesday. So it seems like every time I get home from youth group after working a 12-hour day, I hear about some really big event in our country. So I haven't had time to process, but yesterday, the House of Representatives, I believe, voted for Trump's impeachment, moving on to the Senate now. Just weird times. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, Matt. Is there anything that you can't get over?
Yeah, I mean, going off of that, more focus on the division of our country, I think.
Yeah.
you on Facebook and you see like there's a lot of great people on that I see on Facebook, and yeah, I'm friends with a diverse group of people, and I get to
Mhm.
see a lot of opinions, and you know what, I learn a lot, and I'm not saying people are bad for this, but it just saddens me to see how really good people can say things that are both hurtful towards people that are different from them. You know, whether it's conservative or liberal saying stuff about the other side. It's like it's sad to see that people's first response is to point the finger and say mean stuff. And I mean, it's just hard. There's so many things that you know. I think our our culture kind of likes drama, and so
Yep.
it's unfortunate that a lot of these things get turned into something it shouldn't be. And um, yeah, I'm not here to tell you to think one way or the other, but
Hmm.
especially as a Christian, I don't care where you lie on the political spectrum. You're called to love your neighbor, even if you disagree with them. And um, I, you know, I get it. Like there's stuff that people believe that you might think is appalling, but that doesn't change our calling. You know, to quote Will Ferrell, "Everybody love everybody."
There we go. Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, there's again lots of division. So if you're watching this, whether you're American or one of my Canadian friends or my friend from Norway who told me he tunes in, shout out to you. Pray for our country. We really need it. So thank you all for coming. If you're on the live stream, we're going to be answering questions at the end. But if you are not, yeah, this is probably going to be cutting off very soon. So have a great week. Go be the church in your context, and feel free to check out our sponsor, Student Connection, who I didn't mention until right now. They're fantastic. Mission Connection is happening tomorrow. I don't know if you'll be able to see that by then, unless you're watching this via YouTube. But yeah, Mission Connection is happening tomorrow. Great organization, great conference, doing everything online. Student Connection has a podcast coming soon, so stay posted. All right, have a good one. Bye.
Chamoy,
I had to cut out the Chamoy plug. Hey, John, Caleb, glad to have you guys here.
what's up? Good talk. Oh, sorry. Sometimes I feel like a boomer and I read.
I do that too. Yeah. Student Connection is legit. You're right. I didn't plug him in the beginning. I realized that right as I finished like our intro. Yeah, we did. So we did it a bit different. So John is the one who's normally on. So John, we did instead of doing a like funny news story, because we couldn't really find many. Ostriches broke loose in Missouri. That was pretty crazy. But that was the only good one. So we did 5 youth like ministry stereotypes and whether or not we think that they're true so far. In our like brief time. So yeah, the talk was in general about like being new to youth ministry.
I'm
Just
just
so you
saying,
know.
John, you should try this. It's called
Some
Chamoy.
chamoy.
I've been plugging this throughout the whole podcast. You know, it's not really spicy,
Mhm.
but it's good. It calls itself a mild sauce, salsa baja and picor.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's really not that hot. It's just flavorful, But
Mm-hmm. Just
yeah,
flavorful.
it's just
Welcome to Flavor Town.
it's my new worldly love. Okay.
I like it. I think petition to change the podcast name to Chamoy in context or Church
Dude,
in Chamoy. That's a
give
disgusting mental image. The
me
church just
some
4
more,
minutes from
give me
Chamoy.
some more chamoy for moy.
Yeah. So I don't know any of you guys that tuned in at the end. I think it's probably just Caleb and John on here, judging from their messages and how many viewers I see. But do you guys have any random questions? Any thoughts?
Any thoughts? Um, because if not, I'm just gonna talk about chamoy. Just kidding. But
The Chamoy champion
uh,
himself, the Chamoy boy.
chamoy boy, that's gonna be my influencer name whenever they bring me on. That's
That's
yeah.
honestly not a bad gamer name, dude.
Best facial hair for youth pastors. Ooh.
I don't know if I can screen share, but I have this theory. Most so like if you look at almost all the church fathers, right? They've got like large beards. You know who doesn't have a beard? Arius. Coincidence?
So I was when I was up in Spokane for my last year, after college, there was a youth pastor. His name was Jesse Slippy, straight legend, dude. And he just had like it was kind of like well, it's grown out a little bit, but it's not like too bushy, but it's like clean. It's like um, I just shaved, so I can't really be the best example, but it was like a good like groomed shorter beard. But he started to grow it out a bit. So you know what? I think either you gotta do like um, you either gotta do just the stash. Uh, just kidding. I think the way this youth pastor had it though was amazing. I think that's the best. Or like grow your beard out and then do like the old, little twisties, man. Like the twisting it in the braid. Braid is what it's called. I was just being a boomer, but
Yeah. Well, we're called to be like Jesus, right? So that means having a beard.
dude, yeah. I mean, Jesus probably had a beard.
WWJD, grow a beard.
I used to have a goatee.
You're lucky, John. You're lucky you can get a goatee that doesn't make like whenever I grow out my facial hair, I look younger because it becomes blatantly obvious that I don't grow facial hair. You know, if I'm clean shaven, they're like maybe he can grow facial hair, but he's shaved. Whereas if I let it grow, it's like he can't do it.
Well, there's like I had a buddy recently buy beard oil, and actually I should FaceTime him to see if he has a beard now. But he put it on a few weeks ago. He got it for Christmas, and we'll see, man. Maybe he's grown the biggest beard known to mankind. But
You never know.
maybe I'll give you a reference to him.
Yeah, I could use a beard. I think I need to look older. I don't know.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I'll say it after.
I feel like I also realized that a fair amount of people in youth ministry are short or like look young in some way. I was looking at that. I like noticed my volunteer team. I'm like, a lot of the youth are taller than my volunteers. At least some of them. So I don't know if that's the thing. It might be. It makes sense psychologically.
Zacchaeus, man, he was probably a youth leader.
Probably. Exactly.
So here's a weird thing about Young Life that people joke about us being a cult. We aren't, thankfully.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
I do need some of the magic beard oil.
The joke about Young Life is like oh, like you guys are like so like culty because you guys have like matching shirts and stuff like that. Which random weird story if you want to look up Wild Wild Country on Netflix.
Oh yeah, Young Life and Cult.
That where the Young Life camp is. Yes, you're right, John. That beard oil will be. I'm gonna send him some. Don't worry.
I need something. Like I don't know. Maybe at this point it's just like a beard wig. Like
make sure you put it on the whole beard because like you wouldn't want like half of it to grow and half of it not. But who knows? I don't even know if those things
mutton
work.
Chops?
Might just be a scam. Oh, neck beard.
I'm thinking mutton chops. One of my good friends is a solid neckbeard grower. Oof. I don't know if he watches, but if he does, he knows who he is.
George F. Whitworth, the guy who founded my university, had a neckbeard. He's a legend. But so Young Life is known for having the merch. Like we're big on the merch. Like you see this hat, like logo.
The Young Life hat.
Stereotypical Young Life leader will have like a bunch of Young Life stickers on their cars, on their phone, on their everything. Maybe a Young Life, no, not a Young Life tattoo, but like Young Life merch, Young Life hat, Young Life shirt, Young Life, you name it. Something that I saw a Young Life leader do, this isn't as popular, but he was like, oh, I want to be an influencer for like the most random company in the world. So he got this, what is it called? What's that like? I think it's Thule. Is Thule like the big
I don't know. I don't know if trucker hat. Thule?
I think it was Thule Thule sponsored him. He was like, I'm gonna be the first like Thule, either Thule or one of those companies. I'm gonna be the first like company or first gardener to be sponsored by Thule, and he happens to be like a Young Life leader too. So I was thinking like, what would be like a funny thing to try to get sponsored by? Just weird. And I'm like, okay. I've been thinking about it for a while, and I just Chamoy came into my life, and about 3 weeks ago, and
Oh wow,
I
it's still fresh.
didn't have this revelation, man, until you were like Chamoy boy. So maybe they'll give me this opportunity to really live into my God-given gift of being a Chamoy boy. So
Will this be is this your YouTube return? Is this how it gets started? Also, so John is a big fan of my YouTube channel. John is one of the only fans. He likes my channel. So Matt's the reason I got into YouTube. Fun fact about Matt. He's also he's a Young Left guy now, obviously, but he's a big YouTuber back in the day, kind of. So got me into it. The Cinnamon Productions. Is that your channel's name?
Well, so Cinnamon Productions. But we didn't want. There was like what is it called? Ice cream company that was called that. So we didn't want any lawsuits, and because they're definitely come after middle school boy.
Yeah, like they do. Like ice cream companies are known to do. Yeah.
But
John's got a question there too.
Yeah, Cinnamon Productions ran for like a month, and then we changed it. MC Chestnut Productions, but before that, Secret Agent Chestnut Productions.
Oh, that's what I remember. Secret Agent Chestnut. I like it. John asks, "What's like ministering in a small town like Bandon?" Because you're from Lake O.
Yeah.
So it must have been a bit of a shift.
It is weird. I mean, I went to school in
Spokane.
I went to K through more like first grade through 8th grade. I was in the Portland Public Schools, and then went to a private Christian high school. So I don't know, like Spokane, it's a weird, just a slight context. I like to call it like a big small town. More like a bigger city for sure. But coming to Bandon, it's interesting. I talk to people. I'm like, I love the small town culture. Even before I moved here. But I thought to myself, I don't know if I would want to live in a small town, just because I like having just a bigger city area to explore. But like just moving down here, like the culture is so awesome. The people are amazing. There's so many beachfronts, so many areas to explore. And the church community is great. And so it's really, really cool coming into this community. And it's the hard thing is like, okay, what does it look like for me to be in this leadership role and get things started? And thankfully I'm not doing it on my own. I have an awesome team of committee members and volunteer leaders, and a church who's supportive. But the hard thing is, I mean, starting in a pandemic, it's like you can't really go to schools. So just waiting for that, but also even before that, just trying to get stuff rolling. I mean, we're hoping to start some events soon, and that's an exclusive report from Bandon Young Life. But just kidding. It's not private. We're exploring what we are going to do for that, but it's been great, and just getting to know people is really the main thing right now. So
totally. And yeah, it's kind of crazy that we actually didn't talk about starting a new job in a pandemic at all, which I was expecting it to kind of go there naturally. But yeah, that's a weird part of both, because like I was a junior high director I think half my time as a junior high director, there wasn't a pandemic going on. But ever since I've been in my job, it's my like current role. Yeah, it's been like pandemic city. It's weird, man. It's a weird start.
Yeah, it's definitely weird, and I think I don't know. I think we will get out of this. When?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not an expert, and I'm not taking any hot takes. If you want to see some hot takes, we can talk football again sometime. But I think, it's hard. It's like you can't. Well, in a small town, we have a little bit more leniency on doing certain things, and so yeah. I mean, there's more interactions, and that's all I'm gonna say about that. But just in
Yeah.
general, I mean, with the schools closed, it's like there's not as much opportunity to meet kids where they're at. So there's still other ways,
Yeah.
but
Well, I found it kind of a double-edged sword because I agree. Like, there's, I would love to. For example, I had some cool ideas about doing like a fundraiser um, event for like through our school, which is going to be meeting in person soon, so that might still be a possibility. Hot take shakes are ready. Is that even a hot take at this point? I'm a Seahawks fan. That's like that's a cold take. Yeah. Anyways, but I think there's also like a big, yeah. There's also a blessing in it being a pandemic in a sense. Obviously, it's a bad thing. I wish that I hope that COVID goes away soon. But there's also something kind of cool about ministering in a pandemic. In that, a lot of kids are asking like really hard, good questions and really like thinking about things like, oh, it's just the end of the world. If so, what do I do about it? Or maybe my life isn't forever. Like they're asking these really scary, hard questions. But it's kind of cool to be in a position where we can speak like truth and hope into their lives. And at the same time, for some of my kids, even though I'm certainly new to youth ministry, I'm definitely not the best. I make a ton of mistakes, but I'm at least doing something for them during the week that they can really look forward to. Like for some of them, that is what they look forward to during the week is youth group. Some of them have told me that. That's like, yeah, and so it's cool to be able to be a part of something that is able to keep them afloat like a really crazy time. And I love that part. So I agree. It's 99% bad, but there is some cool things about being in our position right now. Yeah, it's a cool opportunity.
I mean, kids
Yeah.
need Christ-loving adults in their lives more than ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Or even
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say even like the political stuff as well. Like there's a lot of questions that have come from that, and like you talked at the end of it about just the need for unity in our nation, and that's a cool conversation. And we would have said that last year. Oh, we need to be unified as a country, as a church. But now when we say that, it means something different. Like there's kids are asking questions that lead us to these biblical truths more often.
Yeah, and I mean, I was in a new staff training Young Life call, and this whole week, and one guy was talking about how like when there's different conversations going on, it's like you need to go back to biblical truths to encouraging people. And so, yeah, I mean, I think looking at what John and Student Connection said, it's like, yeah, this is a huge formative time. And like, I can't imagine what it would be like to be middle school, high school, or even elementary school or college student. It's hard. It's like it's a huge time where if there wasn't a pandemic, it's a huge. I'm blanking on the word. A huge impact on their social life and their growth and so it's hard. It's hard when you can't really be with your friends, and there's a lot of people that feel alone, and we struggle more with things like depression more than we ever have. But kids need us more than ever. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know everyone's context, but I think trying to meet kids where they're at, that's the biggest thing. And yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Well, yeah, I guess now we'll end the broadcast if there's no more questions. And Matt, when I end the broadcast, just so you know, you and I will stay like it won't automatically kick you out. So if you still want to chat, but anything like, yeah, it'll be run through that the way that StreamYard works. If you want to just get off, you can. You just don't need to say it live that you like don't want to talk to me anymore. We can wait till after the broadcast is over so that people won't know. Yeah, but thanks everyone for watching, for all the comments. It's cool. We saw a fair amount of engagement this time, which is good from John and from some other people in the beginning as well. So,
and remember, Chamoy is the best.
And on that note,